So hi there and welcome to a new video about writing QGis plugins. And before I start, let me give you one warning. So making these videos is a lot of work and I decided to still create them, but I'm not going to edit the videos. So it's all going to be recorded in one go, which might mean that I make some mistakes and I won't edit them out. But anyway, that's when you know something is live. Well, more or less live. So I created this plugin. We're going to talk about that. And if you don't know how to do that, look up the previous videos and you will find the way to do that. And one more mention, if you look at the plugins that are created right now, so I'm using, I think, 3.222. Let's have a look. Yes, 3.22. That means that the QRC file is already compiled for you. So in my previous lessons, I told that you had to compile this resources file to a QRC file, but that's not necessary anymore. It's already created for you. Of course, if you want to change the icon, because it's ugly, to be honest, you still have to recompile this resources file. But if you don't know how to do that, look up the previous lessons. So let me show you the plugin that we have now. It's the normal one. It looks like this, and it comes with these two buttons. And how can you edit this file? You probably already know about this Qt Designer. At least I hope you do. You can open that with Qt Designer, just finding it in your Start menu. And then you can open the UI file that was created in your plugin directory. So I'm not going to repeat that because that's already dealt with in the previous videos. But what I'm going to tell you is how to use these components, these widgets, and how to respond to them. And let's just try to add a button. So I'm going to use this push button, drag and drop it on my user interface. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because of my QGIS scaling problems on my high resolution screen of the laptop. And let's make this a nice description. I'm going to say, okay, this button is going to print hello world. Now, I'm going to save it. This won't do anything at the moment, but at least you have the description. Every object you add to the user interface has an object name, which is the important property. As you can see, it's now called a push button, but that's not very descriptive. So I'm going to call it PB for push button print hello world. There we go. Save it again. And now I have this PB print hello world widget, and I will want to respond to whenever the user clicks on it. And that's going to be a pain for you in the beginning, but trust me, it won't take long before you get really used to it. But if you don't know how to connect or to a clicked function, or don't know at all how to respond to a user or a click request with your mouse, you will have to do some Googling. And I'm going to start up Chrome for that. Let's have a look. The best thing you can do is select the widget. It's also shown here in the object inspector, and you can see that this is a QPush button. And what I do is I say QPush button by Qt, and I look up the results on the internet. So for example, I have this documentation, the official C++ documentation of Qt 5. And if you read it, it will take some time, but you will find descriptions on how to find the event that is called. And in this case, it says a push button emits the signal clicked when it is activated by the mouse. Right, now I know that, I can go to my user interface and I can connect this signal to my own code. How do I do that? It's actually quite easy. I use the self parameter, then I use the name of the component, which is pb print hello world. I'm going to use the name of the event that I want to respond to, and looking up the internet, it says this signal is called clicked. Clicked, there we go. And I'm going to connect it, so dot connect to my own function. So self print hello world. And now I'm going to create that function, print hello world, and I'm going to do self, because you always need that. It's part of the class. And I'm going to say print hello world, exclamation mark. Save it. And let's just try it out. Reload the component. Show the Python console so you can see the print statements. There we go, print hello world. I'm going to click on it, and there you see hello world is on your screen. So what you did, you know the name of the widget, which is a push button, so pb print hello world. Be sure to use descriptive names, and you can access this button by going to the test dialog and say self, and then the name of the component, then the event that you want to connect your function to, which is called clicked, then the connect function, and then the name of the function that you are referring to. So that's actually quite easy. Now, one thing that I really don't like about this code is this print hello world, print hello world. That's really not nice. Because if you get a lot of components, a lot of widgets, this is unreadable. So I recommend you do something like this. You say, my function name will be on, because it's an event. Then I'm going to repeat the name of the component. So it's pb print hello world. And then I'm going to add the event that happens. So clicked. So my function name is on pb print hello world clicked. It's long, but it's really descriptive. And I replace this one. So this is like an event handler with a nice description. Now you really know what's happening. Again, let's test it. Let's go to Qt, close the old plugin, reload, show it, and there we go, print hello world. It works. Right, let's add another one. For example, let's add this checkbox. So I have this checkbox right here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because of the scaling issues. And I'm going to say, for example, use Dutch. And my name default is checkbox, but I'm going to change that as well. CB for checkbox, and then use Dutch. So now I have two components, actually three, but these are the new ones. The use Dutch combo box and the print hello world button. I'm going to save it. And now the thing that I want to do is to see if this checkbox is checked. And if it is, I want to print hello world in Dutch. And if it's not, like now, I want to print it in English. So what I would like to know is how can I find out that this checkbox is checked or not? And to do that, I look up the name of the component. So it's a Q checkbox. Let's go to Google, say Q checkbox by Qt, and then we have some results. I'm going to use the official documentation. And usually the best thing you can do is check this more button and read this detailed description. And if you read it, you will find you can use the is checked to query whether or not a checkbox is checked. All right, that's easy. So let's have a look at my code. I'm in the print hello world. I'm going to say if self, because I want to access the widget. The name of the widget is CB use Dutch. There we go, CB use Dutch. And what I wanted to know if this is checked, which I can find with this property, the is checked property. So I can say is checked. It will be true or false. If it's true, I want to use Dutch. I'm going to say hallo wereld vanuit Qt. Qt. And in all other cases, I just want to say print hello world from Qt. Right, let's see if this works. Make sure you saved. Yeah, there's no asterisk, so this is saved. And let's reload the component, the plugin. There we go. Now print hello world will still print it in English. And if I click use Dutch, it will indeed use the Dutch translation of it. So this is the way to deal with buttons and checkboxes. Now let's just add one more example, and then you're on your own, because you will have to find out a lot of functionality about all these widgets. So let's add a little bit of room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a spinbox, which will give me an integer. Again, I'm going to resize it a little to make it more clear on my high resolution screen. I'm going to create another one. There we go. And I'm going to add two labels. Label, there we go. Label, I'm going to say asterisk, so times. And I'm going to add another label right here. And I'm going to call this one, well, let's wait for that. I'm just going to make it 3 points. There's no information. And what I want to do is that I have a new button. Let's add that button as well, push button. And make it a little bit bigger. It's going to be a messy layout, but don't mind that. And I'm going to call this calculate. And I'm also going to call this button, because it's a push button, PB. What will it do? It will calculate. So I'm going to call this PB calculate. Be sure to make descriptive names. This is a spinbox. I'm going to call it SP for spinbox, and then value A. And this I'm going to go spinbox value B. And this label, I want to calculate the product of these two values. So a nice name for this label would be LBL for label product AB. Let's call it like that. So I simply added these widgets. I gave them descriptive names, and I made a calculate button. So what I want to do now is that each time the user clicks on this calculate button, I want to calculate the product of these two values and display them in this label. Right, step 1, I want to connect to the clicked event of this calculate button. There we go. We know how to do that. Self dot, what's the button called? Let's have a look. Oops, not this one, but that one. PB calculate, copy paste. I want to respond to the clicked event, and I want to connect it to a new function, which I'm going to call on PB from the name of the widget, so PB calculate, and I want to respond on the clicked event. So there we go. Now I have the created function. There we go. And now the interesting stuff starts, because I want to have the value of this and the value of that. How do I do that? Well, again, in the beginning, when you start with this kind of plugin development, you will have to look up the internet and to see how you can get access to the value of this spinbox. So I know, I selected it, that this is a spinbox. Let's find out on the internet, Q spinbox. And let's have a look at the official documentation. So this is another kind of documentation, but you will see all the functions that are available. So the maximum value, minimum value, and well, you will have to find out yourself what to use, but I know that I will have to use this one, value. So if you read the documentation, this will become clear, but again, it will be a little bit of a pain in the beginning. But if you look it up, you can find this property holds the value of the spinbox. That's easy. So I have this spinbox SP value A, and in my code I can say, okay, so value A equals self.spinbox value A, which is the name of the component, and value, I found that on the internet, is a property which returns the value of the spinbox. Makes sense. Well, then it's easy for value B, because value B will be self.sp value B, oops, need dot, and then value. And now I can say product equals value A times value B. Let's just debug this product. There we go. And let's have a look. I'm going to go to my QGis. I'm going to get my plugin. I'm going to fill in some useful stuff, 10 times 9, calculate, and it says indeed 90 in my console. But I want to print it in the label. So how do I do that? Again, if this was the first time I would be using this component, I would go to my designer, click the label. What is it called? It's called the QLabel. Let's have a look. So QLabel by Qt5. Let's look at the documentation. Let's go to more. And then you see this. When passing a string to a constructor calling SetText. That sounds nice. SetText. Maybe that's the right one. Click on it. So text, this holds the property. And then we have a SetText access function which will set the property. Again, read this and you will definitely find the solution. So I need SetText and it expects a string. Well, actually this is C++ documentation, so Python doesn't really care about the types, but C++ does. But the description will definitely help you to find the right way to work with these components. So I need SetText. So I can say, okay, self, because I want to access a property or a component or widget, whatever you would like to call it. It is called label product AB. I can copy paste that. And what did it say? I have to use SetText. So SetText. Then I'm going to use the F string. And I'm going to get rid of that intermediate value. And we're just going to say this. Poof. And there we go. Remove this one. No, remove. And also clear up this empty stuff. There we go. Right. So will this work? Let's clear that old plugin, reload it, get it again, fill in some nice stuff, 10 times 9, calculate, wow, 90. Makes sense, 7 times 8. Yeah, it works. So in this short tutorial, I have shown you a couple of things, and I want you to remind some really essential things. First of all, if you add components, be descriptive in the names. So like I said, if I add a checkbox, by default it will be called checkbox or checkbox_1, whatever. But make sure to create a descriptive name. And what I usually do is like this one. I use a small abbreviation for the name, so CB, which could stand for checkbox. Unfortunately, it can also stand for combo box, but well, maybe then you call it CHB, sorry, I'm using Dutch now. But be sure to make descriptive names and don't use the default ones. Then look at the properties that are available. You can try them out and be sure to try them out because that's the only way to get used to all the possibilities that you have in this editor. And once that's done, also remember that in your code, you will have to access these widgets by using self and then the name of the widget. So that's really easy, but also remember that then all these names will have to be unique. Well, actually, if you add one with the same name, it will add an _1, but be sure that all your names are unique of the widgets that you use. Then connect the events that you want to respond to by using first the name of the event, which you will have to find using the documentation. And usually it says something about signals or slots. There you can see what you can do and what can happen with these values. But yeah, this will take some time. And then make sure that you use descriptive function names because it's easy to get lost if you don't use them. My way of working, which has proven to be really stable, but of course you can find your own way, but my way is to use the on because it's an event, the name of the widget that has created the event, and then the name of the event. So this is a print button, a push button. It's called pb print hello world. I want to respond to the clicked event. So my name is going to be on because it's an event, pb print hello world, the name of the component, and then clicked. And you can read this in one go and think, all right, I know what's happening right here. And then you have to create the function, of course, in your class, and you can do all kinds of really nice stuff with the widgets that you have added to your user interface. So that's about it. What I recommend you do is just try out some of these components and just see what happens. Try out the normal ones and skip the QGis for now because they're a little bit more complicated. And then I will see you later and tell you a little bit more about very often used things like a list view or other important widgets. So anyway, thanks for your attention and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.